Despite the fact that Canadians continue to tackle record debt levels, the use of credit cards to purchase holiday gifts continues to grow, and for some, spiraling into levels that lead into insolvency. CTV chief financial commentator Patti Lovett-Reid caught up with Richard Goldhar, insolvency trustee at Goldhar and Associates, and looked at how you can monitor spending without going broke.
Let's talk a little bit about the time of year it is, because there are a lot of people going into a lot of debt throughout the holiday season.
Absolutely. But I don't find that there's any one particular demographic going into debt more than the other. People assume it might be the young folks. Well, I hate to break the news, but it's everybody. Everybody wants to be thankful to their friends and family, and as a result, they sometimes are paying and spending way more than they have in their bank accounts.
But we often talk about budgets, and people sort of say budgets get a bad rap. They don't want to put a budget in place. But maybe it's not even about the budget. Maybe they simply should say, I got to shut it down this holiday season. I can't participate by way of buying something for someone else.
So we often say to people their best Christmas will be Christmases after they file a bankruptcy or proposal, because they have no credit card. So everything they're paying is paid for in cash.
That's their best Christmas. Wow.
That's
an interesting way of putting it. But do people wind up going into bankruptcy or bankruptcy protection over the holiday season, more so after the holidays, like January, February?
So it's really dependent. So somebody that might need to file an actual traditional bankruptcy will actually file before December 31st, because they will want to shed that debt before then, so they only lose one tax refund the following year. People that file into January will end up losing two tax refunds, because as we all know, our tax refunds don't come till April, and so the trustee would have taken it by that point.
But bankruptcy is sort of a last resort. If someone's watching right now and they're in over their head, what do they do?
So there's two ways to get around it. One would be to hone back on the spending and truly work out what's the cost to repay the debt and the interest. So that's one way, and then you pay it out on your own.
Okay. But if they could, they probably would have.
Absolutely. And then there's multitudes of other ways of dealing with it. There's debt management programs offered by nonprofit credit counseling agencies. There are credit counselors who will work with you day in and day out to help you deal with your debt. And of course, there's licensed insolvency trustees like myself who can offer you consumer proposals or bankruptcies.
Now, when you offer a consumer proposal, why don't you explain what that is, in case someone thinks I'd rather go that route and pay something than pay nothing and have to declare bankruptcy?
Absolutely. So a consumer proposal is exactly as you said it, Patty. We pay a percentage on the dollar. So we look at what an individual earns. We look at the assets, the houses, the planes, the trains, the boats, the cottages that they own. And then we look at the debt they have, and we try to make what we feel to be a reasonable repayment term that would then be accepted by the creditors. And that would be their new legally binding agreement to repay over a 5-year period.
So how do you make money in the process?
So we make money because we get paid a percentage of the dollar paid to creditors. We are not charging any upfront fees to any person that comes to see me.
So no client actually has to wind up paying you in addition to paying someone else?
Absolutely not. We're a free interaction with us.
Now, people have a certain fear and an embarrassment when they get in over their head. And, you know, sometimes it's through maybe no fault of their own. They've lost their job, they've used their credit cards, they're trying to get by. The market isn't what it once was. So how do you deal with that situation?
I always tell individuals when they come and see me that it's going to be a very, very easy process. It's going to be a very upbeat process. My offices are upbeat. Our personnel are always smiling. People that walk out of my office say to me they haven't felt so good in a long time, even though they're going through a very traumatic process, and that's the way that Goldhar sets itself.
Now, given the fact that it's the holiday season, and there are going to be a lot of talks about, you know, using cash instead of your credit card or maybe even your debit card, whatever it is that you decide to do. Do you think people are actually going to listen? Because even our Bank of Canada Governor, Stephen Poloz, continues to be worried about the fact that so many of us are living close to the margin. And if, in fact, there's a tipping point, you know, what does that mean? What does that mean for the economy?
You know, and I think that's a very good question. I obviously feel that people are going to end up finding themselves visiting licensed insolvency trustees more often. Because unfortunately they are living above their means. I mean, all the reports coming out right now from the banks, from the governor, are all leading towards the point where things are getting a little too tight and people are going to have to shed that debt.
So before I let you go, what are the 3 things you would tell someone that came in to see you that had been living beyond their means?
So what I would say to them, really, live on cash. Leave the debit card, leave the credit cards at home. And write down what you're spending. Otherwise, you don't know where that cash goes. And thirdly, try to see that the light's at the end of the tunnel, and if you see yourself in too deep, go and visit a licensed professional. We will help you out.